Welcome back, everybody. I am the SideQuest Gamer, and today I will be reviewing Star Fox 2. Star Fox 2 was a game that Argonaut Games developed until it was cancelled by Nintendo, since they supposedly wanted to start development on Star Fox 64. But good news, someone leaked a beta version of the game. Not only that, the kind internet people managed to give it an English patch and complete the game, fixing the minor glitches and stuff. Now that is the copy I would like to review, the English patched Star Fox 2. But before I get ahead of myself, note that this is, or would have, been a direct sequel to the original Star Fox game for the SNES. The original game used the Super Effects chip, allowing the cartridge to display actual 3D avatars. Not sprites, not pre-rendered 3D sprites, actual 3D avatars. Something that hasn't been done before in console gaming. So with this Super Effects chip, I would imagine that this game would cost $10 more than the standard $60. After all, you have to pay a high price for high quality, but that's alright, because the original Star Fox made the most out of everything. The original Star Fox dealt with the evil exile scientist Andros sending his armies to invade the Lilat system. The capital planet Corneria strikes back by sending in the mercenary team Star Fox to travel across 5 planets, well, depending on what route you took, choosing between 3 different paths to take. One being level 1, which is the easy mode, level 2 is medium, or hard, which would be like level 3, which would affect which planets you travel on and how difficult the final boss will be. But of course the hero succeeded and defeated Andros on the planet Venom. But now, Andros survived and built a big space station over a star and rebuilt his empire. He sent his armies to recapture Venom and other planets in the Lilat system. He also built new secret weapons like planet missiles, mirage snakes, and the cannon betrayers. He also built virus pods to take over the systems of the Cornerian anti-air turret station. If that wasn't enough, he hired a counter-mercenary team called Starwolf, which was back then known as Wolf Team, to defeat anyone approaching within the orbit of their captured bases. Andros is obviously enraged since he lost his left eye in the previous battle, but he was a computer cube. How did computers get maimed in the first place is beyond me. Was he inside the cube, or the base that blew up as a result of the cube's destruction? I don't know, but he's obviously angry about his last foiled invasion. So how good is Star Fox 2, you may ask? One thing you need to accept is that it's extremely different than the original Star Fox. Like how Super Mario Bros. 2 was different than the first Super Mario Bros. In Star Fox 2, the gameplay is changed into a completely non-linear format. You travel around the overworld map that behaves like a real-time strategy game where, as you move, other ships move within the time you moved. However, when you encounter an enemy, the screen changes and you're in a dogfight in space. The enemies can easily be defeated with good barrel rolls and charged shots, but while you fight this enemy, time goes by and other ships move within the time you take to destroy all the enemies you encounter. So when you encounter an enemy in space, take them out, and take them out quick. Why is time of the essence, you ask? Well, instead of a full-out invasion, Andros instead wants Corneria destroyed, so he sends the missiles from the bases he captured, and you have to keep the Cornerian destruction percentage down. If it reaches 100%, game over. So the trick is to capture every planet and destroy every cannon betrayer, because they will launch missiles and fighters to head for Corneria. If the cannon betrayer itself reaches Corneria, it will fire its cannon at the cities. I highly recommend taking those out first before they reach the planet, since they contribute the most destruction. The gameplay is fantastic. It really immerses you in this now or never scenario. Do or all hope is lost. I mean, what would a soldier do if its nation fell? It keeps you on the edge in a good way. It's easy on normal, but hard and expert can be really tricky if you don't know what you're doing. The controls are at best decent. The R-Wing is just as fluid as it was in the first game, but until you press the select button on a planet or inside a cannon betrayer. Since this game is only playable on SNES emulator, you will likely be using a keyboard, which sucks. But I use a gamepad and customize the control scheme to be identical with that of an SNES controller. The controls are pretty straightforward when using a joypad to match an SNES controller. I honestly cannot recommend going at this game with a keyboard. I'm sorry, it's just too clunky and difficult. But if you at least have $20, you can buy an SNES style gamepad custom made with a USB cable. Or you can plug in the PS3 or Xbox controller and use that. The graphics are sometimes better than the first games, and sometimes not. It's hard to judge, since the Mirage Snakes shows how much better Argonaut Games has gotten better at designing avatars, but the ships look the same, and the communication profile photo for each character looks the same, except for Andros, who looks stupider since his eyes are plain white. He used to have pupils, but maybe it's because his right eye was blinded and can only see with his robotic left eye. Andros just looks less scary, to be honest, but you do actually get to see his simian head if you meet him in expert mode. So in terms of graphical improvements, I really have no opinion on. The music is not as good as the originals. There aren't really any memorable tracks except for the final boss battle music and the dogfight music when you encounter an enemy. That's the only downside of the game. Level design I really don't know how to approach either, because the levels are shorter, but only because the missions favored a more 3D arena perspective, and for that, it works. Do I like the level design better in the second game than the first game? Yes and no. Yes, because it's the most 3D a Super Effects chip has utilized on an SNES game, or would-be SNES game. No, because on the first game, at the end of every level, there's a different boss to fight as a reward for completing the level. But on Star Fox 2, it's find the switch, destroy some enemies to open hatches in the base, then destroy the core. The core is the same final boss that you fight at the end of every level on each planet, and that gets very repetitive. Some levels have giant enemies you have to kill so they drop a switch, but boss design is pretty weak in this game. Overall, I would give this game a 95 out of 100. It is a Star Fox game that ignores what its predecessor did great and added its own formula to make it even better. The game feels more like an epic sci-fi adventure than anything. It's definitely way shorter than the first one, but it's worth replaying over and over again, like the first one. Nintendo was so wrong not to release this game back in 1995, because this would have sold really well. But at least when Star Fox 64 came out for the Nintendo 64, people were no longer mad about Star Fox 2 being cancelled. For some, people thought this was the Star Fox 2 that was coming up. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. This is the SideQuest Gamer signing off.